Hi everyone, Dr. M here. We're going to take a look at how we can create that donut for this project that we've been doing the last couple of days. You can see I got a couple of versions of it here. So I'm going to start with just creating a new project so I can walk you through step by step. So first thing we're going to do, click on create a new project in Vectary and get rid of this, turn this around to the front a little bit, and we're going to come over here to our objects, to our primitives, and we're going to get a torus. And we're going to get a pretty chunky looking torus because it only, I think, has 10 segments. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to adjust the tube segments, and that's the segments that go around the tube. So we're going to bump those up to 30. That'll give us plenty to get started with. And then our ring segments, those are the segments that go around the tube. Then we're going to bump those up to 30 as well. That'll give us just enough to get started. Now, we need to pull down, I got some cheater notes here too that I need to look at. I almost lost them. Okay, we need to pull down our ring radius to about 40. So we're going to get that down to about 40. And we're going to push up our tube radius. That's how wide the tube is. We're going to push that up to 28. And that'll give us this little fat looking bagel-y type of thing here. And right now, it's pretty close to where we're going to be. But next step we're going to do, we're going to take this down. We're going to leave it constrained. We're going to take this down to 102 millimeters, because we want it about 4 inches. And remember, 102 millimeters, right about 4 inches. So let's grab this, take it down to 102. That'll bring this down. So let's make sure we unconstrain now, change this to 102. And then we found that this is really good at about 36. Gives it that kind of flat, donut-y look. And we're starting to get right to the point where this donut looks pretty good. We just have to square off these shoulders a little bit, and then we're going to start adding some texture to it all the way around. So now that we have all of these set, our size, our ring radius, tube segments, and ring segments, don't at this point go in and edit unless you're sure you're all set with these, because once you bake this, these will disappear. You won't be able to make changes once this is baked. So I'm happy with what I have here. I've got my size all set, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to bake this. So edit. Yeah, let's bake some donuts. And there we go. We've got all of our ring segments all set up. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start selecting these rings, these lines, all the way around. And the easy way to do that is to click on a line, hold down the control key, and click on the line right next to it. And you'll see that it gives us that line all the way around. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring this up just a little bit. Not too much. That's it right there. Just a little bit. Now I'm going to go to the next line up. Click on one. Click on another one while I hold down the control key. And we're going to pull this up just a little bit. So you can see that I'm just slowly bringing these up. And as I bring them up, the next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to push them out. So I want to get some more of these up in the air first. So I go to the next ring up, click on 2 by holding down the control key, and bring it up just a little bit. Then the next ring up, hold down the control key, bring that up just a little bit. Now, if you look, you can see that we're starting to get a little bit bigger here, but we're not quite at the point where we are pushed out enough. So I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to come down here to this row. So that's 2 rows down. I'm going to click on one line, click on the next line by holding down the control key. And now what I want to do is I want to grab the little arrow that's on the blue arc. The blue arc tells you that that's kind of like looking down from the top. So we're going to grab the arrow and we're just going to try and pull it out straight as we can. What that'll do is it'll make it grow all the way around. Okay? Now, next arrow. Our next set of lines, I'm sorry. Not next arrow, next set of lines. And control key, and I'm sorry, I didn't tell you, I told you the wrong thing. I didn't mean the arrow, I meant the little box here. If you grab the little box, it makes it grow. And that's what we want. We got to kind of stay in the right section there. We don't want to like pull it in different directions, because then it'll make it look kind of funky. So right now we're starting to get that squareness. So now let's go up to the next line. 1, 2, and then we're going to grab the box. We're going to pull it as straight out as we can, and that will give us more of that squareness. So let's go back to that one line that we didn't really pull out yet. Control those, take a look from the top, and make that come out a little bit. Just a little. There we go. Just to get it to move a little. Now we're getting that kind of a shoulder. So now we just have this line right here. We've got to make sure that we're selecting lines. Right now it's trying to grab vertices. So there we go. There's a line. So we want to get this one right here, this series right here. So we're going to click on a line, click on the next line, and I think we're going to pull this up just a little bit. Okay. Did that grab all of them? No, it didn't. Control Z. So I want to grab this line and hold the control key and grab that line. There we go. Now I'm going to pull that all up just a little bit. There we go. Now, I'm kind of happy with that. That looks nice and squared compared to this really rounded section. So I think that's going to fit more with what we want to do. So let's take a look back in our edit. Got a few things we got to do. I think I might want to pull this line out more here. So I'm going to click on lines. I need lines here, not vertices. Lines. Click on that line. Click on this line. I'm holding down the control key, and I'm getting all those lines. Okay, now I want to push this out a little bit. So I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to grab this little box, and we're going to push it out just a little bit. Right about there. Okay. Yeah. It looks pretty good in some sections, so I think we're going to go with that. Okay, so now that we have this side done, we have it kind of squared out. What I want to do is start working on making this kind of look bumpy, because when we look at Doughnuts, and I don't have one up here right now, but when we look at Doughnuts, you can see that they're kind of like not just misshapen, they're misshapen randomly all around. So they also have kind of like a center push in. So we're going to take this line here and we're going to hold down the control key and grab all of it. That's that center line. So we're going to come here and we're just going to bring it in just a little bit. We're going to shrink it a little bit by grabbing that and pulling it in a little. See, that's way too much. So let's Control Z that. And let's see if we can pull it in just a little bit. And that's better, okay? So we got that kind of pretty much all the way around. Let's come over here and grab this side and bring this side in a little bit more, because it looks like we could just pull in a few of these over here on this side, and that'll make it work. That's good. I'm happy with that. Now let's get a couple of these coming out a little bit. Okay, and just pull that out just a little. Good. Now I like that. That's a much better looking donut at this point. All right, so now we've got our little ridge around the middle for most of it. We've got some squareness going on at the top. Now we're going to start working on vertices, and we're going to start with everything excuse me, at this level of complexity. We're not going to do a subdivision yet. So we're going to go to vertices, and we're going to start grabbing vertices. Now I can grab these one at a time and just pull them up a little bit. Grab another one over here, pull it up just a little bit. Or I can grab them in groups. So I can grab a couple of them at a time, and I can do that by holding down the Shift key and then pulling them up in a small group. Now most of our movements here we want to keep relatively small. We don't want to have huge bumps all over the place. So part of this is kind of dealing with the how much you want this to look bumpy. And you don't need to do a lot to make it look bumpy all over. When we go back, take a look, we'll take a look in object mode now to show you. You'll start to see that the top is starting to get misshapen. I can show you better if we turn the color into more of a donut-y color here. You can start to see that we have some bumps and indentations and things like that. So pop back into edit mode. Let's do a little bit more deforming here. So again, we want vertices. We can get that also by just pressing the 1 key, and that'll give us vertices. So we're going to grab some random locations here, and we're just going to pull up a little bit, move over here, do a couple more. You'll notice I'm just doing a couple of small moves. I'm not making anything crazy. Just slight movements up to give it a little bit of texture. Now, if you want your donut to be really textury, you can really yank up on this and pull it way up. So that'll give you a lot of texture. I'll give you a look at what that looks like. We come back in here. You can see that gives you a lot of texture. So in edit mode, probably going to bring these down a little bit. I just want to give you an idea of what they could look like. All right, so now that we're kind of at this point, and I could say, I'm really happy with this. This isn't exactly with what I want. I also want to make sure I get some deformation in here in the middle. But I want to move forward to the next part of the video here for you. So once we've done this, we're going to make sure that we're on vertices. And we're going to select vertices. And that's going to select, we're going to do a Control A, and that's going to grab all the vertices here. Now, Once I'm happy with the level of texture, and that's not just on this side, but it's also on the other side, because once I have the texture done on this side, I want to work on the other side as well. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. And since I know that it's 36, I'm going to change it to 36 on the Z. Now I can work on this other side. And when I want to go back to the first side, I just go back to 0 on the rotation and bring the Z back down to 0. So what I want to do now, the next step here is I want to get this looking a little bit smoother. So I'm going to go into Edit, and I can either select lines or faces or vertices. In this case, let's say I select lines. I do a Control A to select all the lines. Then I'm going to come up here to Mesh Tools. And what I want to do is I want to do a subdivision approximation. And what that'll do is it'll take each one of these boxes and turn it into 4 boxes. So I'm going to do a subdivision approximation. Now I have more boxes. And if I go to vertices, you'll see I have more vertices. Now I could do more detailed editing. And when I go to object mode, things start to smooth out a little bit more. We're going to do one more subdivision approximation later on. But right now, we're doing pretty good. So what I want you to work on for the rest of this part of the donut, the Let's Bake Some Donuts challenge, is texturing both sides to the point where you're happy with it, that your donut looks like it's pretty real, it's ready to eat. And our next video is going to go over how we're going to make icing to cover this. So that's it for today's video. I hope this helped you out a lot, and I will see you in class.